Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there. You gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew their glorious pop, if that people knew their glorious pop, if that people knew their glorious pop, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter. Make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations. Man up.
A place where we inform.
Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage. We are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestations.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
Oh yeah, what's cracking? What's cracking, family? What's going on?
What's good?
Yeah. I see you. We here, man. We here. You know, tonight, we have an extraordinary show on the topic of playing in the trash. Let me tell y'all something. This this is something that's long overdue that we have a show for, because bruh, we use that phrase all the time. I know I do. And you know, it really points out and highlights, you know, the type of guys that we have out here and girls out here as well. You know, that more often than not, you know, you see a person that you feel like is a classy person, is a decent person, and for whatever reason, they defile themselves by standing next to this piece of trash. You understand what I'm saying? By holding dear to this piece of garbage. And it boggles the mind. You scratching your head, you really can't put 2 and 2 together and figure it out. It's like one of them weird cases where 2 and 2 equals 22. You feel me? So here we are, you know, and we're going to get into it heavy today. You know what I'm saying? Before I get into it, how's everything with y'all?
Good, man. Just in here trying to make sure everything is lined up for the viewers to come in and see.
No doubt.
But everything is good, man.
No doubt. That's what's up.
Everything is lovely, man. Everything is lovely, man. We just try to keep it going, baby. Another week, another episode, more fire, more fuel.
Blessings. I see you on that, man. And I mean, the thing with me, man, like I keep seeing these patterns. And the most important reason why I felt like we had to have this show is because I think that a lot of people that are in these situations don't even realize that they're in the situation. Like, I don't think that, you know, some of the people that we're talking about today, I don't think that they realized that they were playing in the trash, or that, you know, they were dealing with somebody who could potentially cause them a lot of harm, because part of it is just, okay, the initial visceral response, ew, you know, you doing that, you know, with this person, whatever the case may be. The other part of it is it's very detrimental to you and very harmful to you, or could be, because you're, you know, this high level person dealing often with a person that has absolutely nothing to lose. And that can really, you know, be to the detriment of your life, like in its entirety. You know what I'm saying? I saw this scripture that I came across this week, and I thought this was ill. I wanted to share this before jumping into everything. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And that's kind of what I see with a lot of these cats out here. You know, they do these type of things and hang out with, you know, some unscrupulous people that really ain't on their level, just so that they can kind of be down. You know, I feel like a lot of the time they're conforming, and, you know, that's kind of, you know, what gets us into some of the stuff that we get into when we start seeing this type of stuff. So, you know, without further ado, there's one video in particular that I want to just kind of jump into before anything else, because this one just floored me. I want to see how y'all feel about this. Tell me what's up with this right here.
God's voice to be louder than his. And when I was going through transition of him not coming home on the weekends, not being there, telling me I hate you, I'll never love you, I wish I never married you, I knew that life and death is in the power of the tongue through the word of God. So I would say, you will love me one day. We will have a good marriage one day. And although he would go out for weekends, I would literally help him get ready to go meet a side chick by ironing his clothes and getting him ready for the night. And these are all things I was graced to do. I would not encourage anybody to do that unless you are graced by God to do this.
So, we're graced by God now to iron the clothes so you can go see the side chick. How y'all feel about that? Help me out. Talk me off the ledge, because, bruh, I'm hearing this craziness and I'm like, whoa.
That's
what y'all got?
It's dumb as fuck. It's delusional as fuck. And just to say God's name in that grace is very distasteful and very disrespectful. Everybody has different. You know, I talked about this the other day with a friend of mine, and I was saying that there's a lot of, especially a lot of women, because you don't really get a lot of guys that discuss God like that. But they have a personal relationship with God. It's not very transparent to the world. I have a very special relationship with God, and that's not transparent to the world. My relationship with God is different from your relationship with God. Everybody has their own different relationship and should seek their own different relationship. The relationship isn't universal. Our testimonies are different. The way we interact with God is different. So God might bless more favors for this person than that person. That's based on who that person is, the interaction and their connection with God. That's outside the realms of what we can control. So that's basically an individual preference. What I do hate is that everybody classified this whole thing under God. God does this, God does that. And even the foolishness is now being cast as, oh, God got me doing this. And in reality, it's a delusional mindset to use God to basically okay the bullshit. Because once God's name is on it, then automatically people have sympathy and give you a pass on that. It's no different than when you remember we used to watch Showtime at the Apollo. And when we used to watch Showtime at the Apollo, people come up there and do their songs, and then it'd be trash. And then all of a sudden, they'll switch it and add some God in it, make it seem religious. And then all of a sudden, the people might not boo them like they were before. They might be quiet, or some people might be clapping as empathy, because now it's geared towards God to bail them out of their low stance on that stage. And I think a lot of people have been doing that in life. They have done a lot of trash stuff and then using God to elevate them out of that, to say what they're doing is normal. And hey, if God has ordained this, then who are you to judge this or label me stupid? Even though I am stupid, now the judgment is off of me, because now I say God has ordained it. And because the church has allowed and stated that everybody has their own relationship with God, which you do, now is to say, oh, did God really, really do that? Maybe God really did that for her, So I think it's blind stupidity under the premises of God in order not to hold herself accountable for her foolishness. You muted, Major. You muted.
My bad. Yeah, my bad. Bobby, what you say? All facts, Ant.
Want somebody else to come in and skip me again so they can go ahead and talk on this, because I'm just we I'm gonna try to keep it concise. I'm gonna do the best I can. If I bleed over a few seconds, please forgive me, but because this one got under my skin. So we actually was chopping this up on my dude Gabe. Shout out my boy Gabe Bell.
Yeah,
we were chopping this up on his page a couple of days ago. And I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just watched the clip and I was just shaking my head, just wanting to flick her dead in the middle of it, like right between her eyebrows. Just want to flick her hard as possible. Just stop, leave a big ass indentation right there. That's what I wanted to do. But I was content to not say anything about it. And then someone said and commented, and I was because the funny thing is I actually had this in my head, but I was wondering if anyone was going to bring it up in any kind of way. And some person who is well versed in the Bible, they brought up and said, well, how do we know that God didn't tell her to do this? And then she made reference to the book of Hosea. So for those who aren't familiar with the Bible or maybe forgotten, there's a book in the Old Testament called the book of Hosea. And it was written by God's prophet Hosea. And pretty much one of the big themes in the book was the prophet, the man of God, Hosea. God instructed him to go and actually wife up a prostitute by the name of Gomer.
Yeah.
And the purpose of God didn't tell him to go wife her up because this was a lucky day or what have you. He instructed him to go and wife up the prostitute because it was supposed to be a symbolic allegory for how the children of Israel did God, how the children of Israel would keep on, turning their back on God. Every time he forgave them, he welcomed them back with open arms. They would turn their back on him and they would, break the covenant that they had set with him.
Yeah.
And that's what happened during the course of their marriage. On more than one occasion, Gomer, she got taken about the game. She got retired. You good.
Yeah.
But, she was on that paid in full. She was like, man, I love the game, man. I love the hustle, man. But, I wonder if I leave these streets, man, the fans still gonna love me, man. And that's what she was on. And so she was wifed up, but she would go right back to her pimp, go right back to the streets, prostituting. And God bless this man. He would keep on going back and he would buy her back from the pimp, take her back. And this is a rinse, wash, and repeat type of deal, or whatever. But it was supposed to drive the point home that this is basically how, I mean, y'all looking at Gomer and Hosea and judging them. Dang, he's stupid. Man, she's stupid. But y'all stupid because y'all doing this for God. And so this person was trying to bring it up and saying, well, what if this was that kind of situation? And so I responded to that. And I said, the difference is that God commanded Hosea to go and wife her up. As an illustration. As far as I'm aware, God did not command this marriage to happen so dude can cheat on her, and then she can go on a podcast talk about why I iron his clothes, I pick out his outfit, I ask him what cologne does the girl he's with like, or I make sure his shoes are shine so he can make a really good impression.
Right.
As far as I'm aware, that's not what's happening. But let's just say that is the case. That this is your burden. That there's a work that's in progress that God is doing through this.
Yeah.
Woman, shut up.
Okay.
If this is what's happening in the background, then just like in the scripture, you don't go and talk about while this is happening behind the scenes, play-by-play footage. Okay, and here we have God commanding you to do this. No, if this is to serve our greater, higher purpose, you wait till the purpose is accomplished, and then if God instructs you, you go out and say, "You all saw this, but this was happening in the background."
Very solid point. Very solid.
And we've seen stories like this, right? Where we've seen people where it's a person who's respected, and that everyone respects them and where they are, and they'll come out and share their testimony. You all saw me at this point, and I'm here now. But 5 years ago, I was really going through it. I was in this place, and this happened. I was at rock bottom, but God will turn around. You don't do it in the middle because no one is going to see that.
Right.
Right now, they see a big goofy talking about God commanded me to be with an abuser. There's not going to be any deliverance from that. If anything, it's going to steer people away from God because you got God looking like a whole entire idiot out here because you couldn't shut your mouth. If this is what was actually happening. Second of all, I was pissed off that this dude is sitting right here on his podcast, got his woman talking like this, and from all appearances felt no shame. You're supposedly a minister. See, another key difference between this and Hosea's situation is Hosea wasn't the one out here doing the dirt. His wife was.
Right.
She wasn't ordained. She wasn't a minister. She wasn't a prophet. He was.
Okay.
So God can bless this mess where your wife is out here cutting up, but you're on the right track. As the man of God or as woman of God, if that's the way this was, you do not have the license to go ahead and do this and serve as a allegory. It don't work because now you are blaspheming your ministry, you blaspheming your anointing, you are blaspheming the place that God has you set up in. If his wife was the one that was doing this, that would be a different story.
Right.
That is not what's happening here. You calling yourself a pastor with all the shame and hubris, with all the shameless behavior and hubris sitting right there proud, like, yeah, she irons my clothes. Yeah, she's a good one. It's a lot of people that better be grateful that we're not back in the Old Testament days when niggas used to get struck down by lightning, because there'll be a whole lot of corpses on the street right now. And I'm not entirely sure we don't need to go back to that now, because some niggas have gotten way too comfortable with playing with God's name. True. And cutting the whole entire fool. And then misleading the congregations. But it does say in the word of God that in the last days, a lot of people are going to be playing with his name. A lot of people are going to be claiming to be a prophet over here. They're going to say God's over here, support this, that. So I'm not surprised at this, but that doesn't make it any less tactless. All I can say to that brother is, you better get yourself on track now.
Right.
Because there's one thing I know, two things for certain. It's always before destruction, there's always warning. There always comes warning.
Yeah.
Don't nobody ever get taken down that didn't have ample time to get it together and hit that U-turn. This right here might be his last stop exiting the station. Brother, if something happens to you, if you get hit with one of these Me Too lawsuits, or someone's husband decides they want to come and crucify you.
Come on now.
They want to do whatever to you. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see no sympathy posts. None of it. Because this could have been long time avoided. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry.
Thanks. No.
I did want to add on to what Bobby said, because I didn't want that to get lost in transition, is the fact that when he talked about God, the connection of God to the man, he is the ordained one. You know, your household, your man is supposed to be linked to God. And through that linkage, then God sends the message through the man, and the message now is dispersed through the woman and the children. So that's the hierarchy of the connection through God. It's God, the man of the house, the wife, the woman, and then the children. So I just wanted to put that into perspective as well.
Facts. And, you know, at the end of the day, for me, the thing that stood out to me the most, like y'all said, is, you know, her linking this to God. You know, this is God making me sit up here and act a fool and co-sign abuse because I don't know how to have the courage to stand up to this man that's mistreating me. You know, it's amazing to me, the leaps and bounds and the stretching that we'll do to reach when we're in a situation that we shouldn't be in, but we want to be in. You understand? And yeah, people got to get out of that because it's extraordinarily harmful. I saw that clip. It broke my heart. I'm really trying to figure out, you know, how you get to that point, you know, where you allow that type of abuse, because that's what it is. It's abuse. And the sister's not even acknowledging it as abuse. She's talking about, you know, this is something that God sent her to do, something that she's supposed to do. You're supposed to sit there and have no integrity and be abused and be humiliated in front of the world. Come on, bro.
Let me say something really quickly in closing on that.
Yeah.
It's not just on him for misrepresenting Christ, possibly setting people up to take an L. She needs to be mindful as well too, because by doing what she did, you are now using God's name to justify accepting and sitting in abuse and neglect and mistreatment. If there are any women or any young impressionable women who aren't seasoned and don't know better, and they look up to her, they respect their marriage, maybe they're sitting under their church and they hear that. If there's any woman who goes ahead and looks to get in that situation or is in that situation and says, you know what, I'm going to sit here and tough it out because I see what the first lady here is doing, she's going to be responsible for that as well too.
Facts.
So that's going to be blood, so to speak, on her hand as well too, because you want to go ahead and open your mouth and flap your gums. So it's not just him that's going to have an accounting on his hands. She might have something to be responsible for as well too, because you went ahead and you didn't. I'm positive God ain't tell her to go ahead and flap her gums. Maybe you told her to go ahead and work with this man. God didn't tell you to go ahead and flap your gums and start spilling all the beans on a podcast for no doggone reason. I know that much.
That's facts.
And one thing that we always tell you on Manversations, please listen to this. It's very powerful. Don't open up Pandora's boxes that y'all not going to be able to close. Ladies, it's not going to be right. It sounds like it's good now and you're obtaining it, but then his ego and his destructiveness is going to open up more boxes. And then when you sit back and have a problem with one box, you're going to be like, why did you open the box up in the first place? So never open up a Pandora's box you're not able to close.
Facts. And while we're on the topic of abuse, I had to go ahead and talk about this too, because, you know, I'm seeing this pattern in a lot of young cats and it's very disturbing, but I really needed to speak on this. Real Boston Richie, you know, I don't know if y'all know who he is, but he's an up and coming rapper. He's a new rapper. He's really brand new. I mean, his song has been out for what? He has a song called Help Me, strangely enough. Right. His song has been out maybe for like 2-3 months now. Brand new rapper. And already this fool is out here hit with felony charges for allegedly choking his girlfriend 20 times. Bruh. My head exploded. This is after he got caught in another video for smacking a phone out of his girlfriend's hand and pushing up on her like he was about to hit her. They had to hold him back. It looked like he was about to beat her up in that video. You understand what I'm saying? And then this came out. you know, where he choked the girl literally up to 20 times, you know, where she passed out and she ended up vomiting because he kept choking her like repeatedly over a period of 2 hours. Allegedly, this is what happened. And there are witnesses that say that this is what happened. I mean, and there's a whole Pandora's box. You just mentioned, don't open Pandora's box. He made things official with this girl or got her pregnant right after she turned 18, and she was sleeping in the bed with him up until that point, allegedly, but of course nothing was happening, right? I mean, it's just a clusterfuck. The story, it just makes my head explode. It's really sick and disturbing, and I hate to see this type of pattern in young men when we're out here, because we just had a story last week where this athlete got arrested. An NFL prospect got arrested for choking out his girlfriend, and she passed out. Like, and we're not even gonna talk about Shannon Sharp. Well, not yet. You understand what I'm saying? That whole choking shit that he got going on. It's like, bruh, what part of y'all niggas is targets do you not understand? Like, you need to come up with better ways to resolve problems, young brothers, because once you do some shit, when the cops get there, you guilty. And a lot of times they're going to play judge, jury, and executioner right there. You understand? And you really need to safeguard yourselves against that, because it's real out here. You know, they could have just she called and, you know, oh, he choked me, da-da-da-da. They could have just came up blasting and probably would have got off and been justified in doing so, according to this court system. Thoughts?
I just want to say, fellas, and this is not any type of victim blaming the women. This is, fellas, this is on y'all. And why I say it's on y'all and not the women is because I've been in situations where I ran across women in my younger years. I'm talking about in my early 20s. And women would come at me. So if I'm in my early 20s, they were basically around the same age. So the mindset of development wasn't up there. So they would come to me and be like, man, I love when you choke me. I love when a guy do this and do that. It was kind of a fetish, a thug fetish, a bad boy fetish that a lot of young women have. And what happens is, you know, even though as young as we were, it could be manifest as role playing and playful. The dangerous parts behind that is, even if it is consensual role playing, right? You're creating a mindset that is okay. And that's the problem. So when you're doing this with this person, as it starts off as playful or whatever the case may be, when you get older, the more you do it, the more aggressive you become, the more destructive you become, the more dangerous you become, because now it has been transitioned into a natural state of who you are now. This was never before. This was not you in the present, in the past moment, but in the present moment, you have transformed into this monster. And I think a lot of men don't want to admit that. And I remember in my younger years, I was seeing guys aggressively transform, and these was game goofy dudes. Like, a lot of game goofy dudes get caught up into this because they don't have the attraction of that suave presence. So they would have to pretend like they're thugs or these wannabe hardcore dudes. And anytime you pretend, you actually overdo it. It's no different than a man trying to play as a woman, because he can never naturally be a woman. And so a lot of his antics, his gestures, or even the way he speaks is going to be over the top exaggeration and portrayal of a woman. And that's what happens with the role of a man that's in that type of trauma bonding experience. So you see a lot of these guys over the while get very aggressive with it, because it has been normalized by the repetitiveness of different women asking that type of request. So I remember growing up, women would ask me that type of request. I would stay far away from that, because I knew that it is a very critical point for a man to get caught up in that situation. Because even if it's playful, the minute she says, hey, are you choking me too hard? And now you go from playful to now being a suspect of possible attempted murder.
Yeah.
And that's the thin line that a lot of young adults and even grown men don't want to face. And it's the reality of it. It's no different than when you having sex with a woman. It's consensual, right?
Yeah.
But the minute they say, she says, hey, stop, and you're already in the groove of it. Now you're thinking, hey, I'm just continuing the consensual part. But the minute she stays stop, you got to stop. So now it goes from consensual to criminal. And that's the thin line that brothers have to understand. This isn't something you want to engage in. You want to make sure that you're engaging with somebody that is engaging with you in a healthy manner. You want to make sure that you're engaging with somebody that has a full consent to what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And nothing can be construed in a different direction. Hence, why this type of behavior should only be engaged with people that you are seriously in an involvement with marriage. So, and I'm not saying that you should be in marriage doing this type of behavior. I'm just saying once you're married, you're more on a healthier relationship, doing healthier stuff that isn't perceived as you being somebody, a villain to your mate. And I'll land my plane on that.
Well said. Well said. Extremely well said. Bobby, what you got? What you got? Talk to me, man.
Part of what you said, Ant, I wasn't going to touch on just yet because I know there's going to be an opportunity for us to address it later on, but I can probably mention it both times. Okay. First, let me address what's this guy? Newport Richie?
New Boston Richie.
New Boston Richie.
Real Boston Richie. My bad. Real Boston Richie.
Real Boston Richie, fake Boston Richie, bootleg Boston Richie, Boston the Six, whatever.
Yeah,
I really don't care. I'm feeling a certain way about him just based off what I'm hearing, but I'm sound enough to recognize that just going in on him would be easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Would take no effort because I got no respect for that kind of bullshit whatsoever. But I think that would be a waste of the moment. So instead, what I will say is I will recognize and understand that not knowing who he is, I would like to assume that otherwise this is not an unstable person. I don't know if his behavior exists only towards her. I don't know if it's a result of arguments or fights they're having or disagreements, and he doesn't know how to self-regulate. I don't know if there's other stressors in his life, and unfortunately, she just happens to be the closest person, place, thing that he can take it out on. I don't know if he's this way with people in general, but if he's maybe tried to throw hands with people in public, friends, family members, whatever. I don't know. What I will say is, as men, people period, but as men in particular, again, we have to stop just talking about mental health and mental illness and trauma and therapy. These have to stop just being buzzwords and trendy things to make mention of. And they have to actually start being things that we practice and work on. The same way you go to the dentist for your checkup, and I've said this before, I'm going to probably be blue in the face dead still saying this. The same way you go to the dentist to get your checkup. The same way you go to your primary care physician for your annual physical, for your blood work.
Yeah.
The same way you go to the same way you go to anybody, your eye doctor. It is important to make time to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have any outstanding trauma that's happened recently, you've never been a victim of sexual assault, you're not a survivor of a violent crime, you haven't lost a whole bunch, even if it's nothing obviously wrong, it does not hurt to go and check in once in a blue moon. Find the therapist, talk to them, deal with some stresses that you might be dealing with recently, maybe some problems at work, some light issues that you're having, because you don't know and don't understand. There are things that we are dealing with that we walk around with a lot of times, and we're really not aware of how heavy they are.
Mm.
And it's like, if you've ever seen, and there's a couple videos that's like this, but have you ever seen some of these chiropractic videos where you see somebody going and getting adjustments? You'll have some people walk in there and they're obviously walking with a limp or some kind, you can see something's wrong. And they go and get a few cracks or whatever and pops and everything.
Yeah.
And you'll hear afterwards, in a lot of cases, the relief they're in. They're like, you know, I've had my back this way, my legs been this way for the past several years. I've never been able to walk like this. I never knew how good this felt. The human body and the brain is amazing, where we have the capacity to take a lot of shit.
Mm.
And so we can literally be walking around underwater damn near in some cases. And it's time to we're finally able to get clear. And it's like, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad this actually was.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. And so there's a lot of things that we're dealing with, a lot of trauma from our childhood, improper rhodopsy training from our parents, things that we're exposed to. Our brain does the best it can to manage that stuff.
Yeah.
But it can only do so much, and we don't understand how this can affect us. If you are lashing out at the people closest to you, your significant others, your friends, your family members, your children, your parents, whoever, your coworkers, whoever, your neighbors, that is not normal. That is not natural.
Right.
You need to go and seek help. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you broken, whatever. People get hurt, injured all the time. It's no different from breaking your arm. If you break your arm, you don't sit there and say with the damn thing flopping around, no, I'm not going to go to the doctor's office, man. You crazy, man.
Yeah.
No, it's fine, man. No, you're going to go to the hospital to get treatment.
Right.
If you have anger issues, in this case, that's what's going on. That's not a broken bone, but your broken bone is the fact that you're choking people out. And 20 times in an hour. And other things led up to this. Go to anger management. Find out why you are behaving this way, what is going on, and work to resolve the issue.
Well said. Yes.
Because there's no valor in sitting back like, man, I'm fine. I don't need to do anything. Because you know what's going to happen? You're ashamed of the stigma. You're afraid of spending money on doing that. You think it's going to be worthless. But guess what? You get locked up. You have to serve time.
Right.
Like you mentioned earlier, an attempted murder charge. Now you're looking at what, 10, 15 years?
Crazy.
Would you rather do a dime behind bars in prison on a felony, or would you rather go and sit your ass in a doctor's office 2 or 3 times a week for an hour?
Yeah.
You do the math.
It's a pretty clear choice.
It should be. We've got to stop just sitting back and saying, I'm okay. I'm okay. Seeking help does not make you weak. Not seeking help makes you weak. Seeking help says, I've gone as far as I can. I want to stay in the fight. I want to get this everything out. Let me go call some backup in. If you're at the gym lifting heavy weights, you have somebody spotting you.
Yeah.
Why does that not make you weak? You should be able to lift up that 600 pounds. You don't need a spotter. We need to retrain our brains and how we see certain things to understand that strength is different. It's more vast than what we've given it credit for in the past. Looking for help does not make you weak. Sitting back and not seeking help when you need it, that makes you weak.
Yeah. Facts. Oh man, you cooked on that, Bobby. You cooked on that, bro. And you know, I see him over there with the chef with the kitchen utensils. Look, at the end of the day, you know what bothered me the most about it, it's just that it's so excessive. I mean, like, not to say that he would be right if he just smacked her either, right? But damn, bro, you really choked her over 20 times over a 2-hour period. You really did that? Like, there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't be around other normal people.
Yeah.
And that's how you know something's wrong, because it's not like you just slapped in the face, shut up, trick or whatever. It's not like you this or that. You choking this woman. You were actively in the process. I've never seen anyone dead or killed because they got slapped or even punched in the jaw. Maybe because they fell and hit something. I've never seen that. You might get a bruise, maybe even worst case, a busted jaw, but you go on living. You can kill somebody from choking them.
Yeah.
And you do it again multiple times. Most people, they get angry, lose their temper, they fly off the handle, and then it's like, oh shoot, my bad. Or it's like, don't make me do that again. For you to be able to choke somebody out for an hour, that means you are literally sitting and living in a state of rage. 60 minutes is a long time, yo.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you were able to maintain that same level of anger to choke somebody, stop, choke them again. There ain't nothing on earth that should be able to get anybody that upset.
Yeah.
For that consistent period of time, something is wrong.
Yeah. And we hope that brother gets the help that he needs. And like Bobby said, yeah, y'all need to really get out there and stop talking about, mental health and using it as a catchphrase like most of you do. And
be about it.
Sit your ass in somebody's chair. Don't talk about it. Be about it. We got to move on. We got a lot of ground to cover today. All right. So this next one, oh God, let me just play the clip.
We're just looking at like couples and people in the league. And we was talking about how LeBron do the little handshake with Savannah.
Right.
And then I was like, maybe I know this shit that people don't notice. But I'm like, they was like talking about, what if you had LeBron money? I'm like, man, he one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to trade places with him. And they was like, why not? Why you wouldn't want to play? I say, because I don't like the way Savannah look at LeBron. I like the way them white women look at LeBron. Like when soon as he walk out there, they just be like, oh.
Bruh.
Oh my God.
Bruh. Like, oh God. I really, 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 there are a few people that really grind my gears in the industry. Kevin Gates is at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom of that list. This guy, I mean, and what irks me the most about him, he's always on this fake woke shit. You know what I'm saying? Trying to pretend like he knows so much. And you can count on this nigga to open his mouth and say the most ignorant shit imaginable. Like, bruh, what are we doing? It's so disrespectful on so many levels. You got LeBron James out here doing what he do, minding his business. You got him out here with his lady. They represent black love and black excellence to all intents and purposes. And then you go come out here and say some slack ass sideways bullshit like this. Come on, man. Like it just doesn't make any, and what you're saying is ridiculous, because at the end of the day, what I don't like about it the most, aside from the fact that he's attacking, this black man and black woman that represent black love pretty well from what I see, you understand, is that he's comparing the black woman and how she looks at her man to the white woman and how they look at him, and talking about, nah, that's the way that he wants women to look at him. So he's pedestalizing white women over his own, which is a clear sign of self-hatred. This is a coon that always does this type of shit, and really shitting on sisters just for no reason, really, because he didn't say anything positive about black women, nothing whatsoever. He kind of attacked black women low key by, going out of his way to uplift the other race of women. It was just pointless and useless. And I can kind of understand where a man likes to be admired or likes to be viewed like he's admired. I kind of get that, but there's another way to say it. And I don't know when, some of these clowns are going to get the memo. I mean, we got Shannon Sharp. We just had Jonathan Majors not too long ago. We had Tiger Woods. Woman tried to beat him to death with a golf club. You understand? And y'all keep pedestalizing white women. Why? You understand? Because the evidence to me shows that the dealings with white women from black men are particularly dangerous, or have been in recent history. That's what it shows me. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. Y'all tell me, man. What did y'all hear? Because I know what I heard. I heard coon babble. That's what I heard.
Yeah. I don't know what the infatuation with Kevin Gates is. A lot of women follow him. To me, he's a walking hypocrite. If you notice, a lot of things he have said in the past on podcasts, things that have came out of his mouth, he's done the opposite of. And this portrayal of being such a real dude, you know, even the illusion that you talk about how his wife for years, and people don't understand the powers behind being married for years. I think people take that as a joke, or think that being married for years is something that is supposed to happen. Like, you know, being healthy for years is just the norm. And it's far from it. It's more work to be done when you have more years added up, because you have to put in extra effort to keep the romance going. And that's not easy. That's loving this woman over and over and over in a new way, just so that we can continue the romance for a long time, because it's easy to fall in and out of love with people, you know, especially with social media having so much distractions. So him trying to keep the romance, the balance between his family, you know, the stuff going on with his children, he got to get up into these coons' face like Stephen A. Smith, you know, talking about his child in a certain way. So, you know, there's so much going on in LeBron's world that people don't even realize that Savannah has to take on a lot of that stuff as well, and has to be his piece as well. That's why she's not in the limelight, because she has so much stuff that she has to do in order to maintain the balance of LeBron, who maintains the balance of his household. So somebody who's unorganized, somebody who is not leading by example, is out here just saying salacious stuff so that he could get a spark of relevancy, you know, because even when he said that, he ended up making a song about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a lot of times people are digging at people just to stay relevant, or saying stupid shit like Kanye just to stay relevant in the media. You know, there's other ways to be relevant. Go build some shit. You know, you'll stay relevant not only in the damn media, but you'll stay relevant when you pass on. And when going back to the illusion of what Kevin Gates portrays, if y'all notice, who was he at the game with?
Brittany Renner.
And how was Brittany Renner dressed?
She was dressed like a Muslim.
Exactly. So you have a wild woman who is a 304 that everybody knows of. She even has predatory behavior, because she was going out there going after younger men, and then that's when Dion had her come to the thing, and he was doing it more to show guys, young adults, like, these beautiful women are preying on you. But he couldn't say it like that, but he brought her in that space so the young brothers could see, like, this is what you got to avoid. And yet you have a guy who act like he's so sensible. This guy is so intelligent, yet you got a 304, and you trying to say you man enough to put her in a hijab to make her cover up when she knows she's normally been known for exposing herself. So now you trying to act like you're a powerful man, but in reality, you're a weak person who's projecting this type of stuff in the public image, and people who don't know better is the ones that's eating that up like, yo, he's a nigga. And the guys who know better looking at this dude like you a fucking buffoon, and that's why you're not progressing to the level that you need to be on, and trying hard to get there, and it's not working for you. It's kind of like the wasp trying to emulate the bee and produce no honey. And I'll land my plane on that.
Real quick before you go, Bobby, let me just add this in there too, because I was going to hit it on the back end, but since you mentioned it, Brittany Renner, you know, water seeks its own level. To keep on the topic of tonight's show, playing in the trash, water seeks its own level. Kevin Gates is trash, you know, very verifiably trash. You know, Kevin Gates was married. He may still be married to her, but he was married to a woman for a very long time. And then he was out with Brittany Renner just out of the blue. And so that woman left him, you know, and Brittany Renner basically destroyed their home, but she's supposedly a Muslim now. You understand what I'm saying? So this is very much in keeping with the conversation and the topic of the show, playing in the trash, and how water seeks its own level. You have two trash people here that have hooked up. You have two trash people here that have found each other. And I'll park the Chevy. Go ahead, Bobby. What you got?
Let me real quick start off by saying
hey. Woo! Yeah.
That really could be the response all by itself, and I really shouldn't have to say anything more than that. That all by itself.
Facts. Yeah.
Oh my God. This dude is in the trash. He is the sludge at the bottom of the septic tank when you have to pump it out because it backs up.
Uh-huh. That's him.
That's what Kevin Gates is.
Yes.
And you know, my brother would call him, and people like him, a smart dumb nigga.
Uh-huh.
Or specifically, he said about him, he's the smartest dumb nigga that he knows. You know, he's good at using a whole bunch of words and trying to talk over your head. But the reality is, if you actually dig under it, and you would only have to dig more like just blow on the little crumbs at the top, he ain't said a damn thing.
Nothing. Nothing.
He may as well have his ass cheeks sitting on top of his neck, because all he does is talk stupid shit.
Yeah, facts.
That's it. And the idea of, I was actually chuckling at this because you have people trying to the LeBron haters, the ones that be pogo sticking him more than Savannah does, trying to say, well, see, LeBron's soft because you see what happened was he wanted to get a step in Stephen A. Smith face the other day for talking about Rodney, but Kevin Gates was at the game. Why he no get in his face like that? For starters, let me address that nonsense.
Oh God.
Sambo Shuck and Jive A. Smith.
Uh-huh.
No matter what you would like to say about him, he is for the most part a well-respected journalist in the sports sphere. He's been at the top of that pile for close to 2 decades now.
Yeah.
He's been able to successfully navigate both the print journalism world, the television journalism world, and now the podcast journalism world. Stephen A. Smith has a reputation. He has relationships with many athletes and celebrities. No matter how you may feel about him personally, professionally, he's up there.
Yeah, facts.
He has a platform. You can laugh about how apoplectic he gets, how over the top dramatic he is, but the man has been able to commandeer high figure deals from the likes of ESPN and them. So clearly he knows halfway what he's doing, what he's talking about. When he speaks, people listen. So if you perceive a threat is being made towards yourself or your family based on how they're being covered, you have to address a Stephen A. Smith, because what he says isn't lightweight. There's power behind it. Even if he's a goof, what he says has weight behind it. You got to check that. A Kevin Gates? Who is that nigga? What is a Kevin A? What is a Kevin Gates? And I'm not answering a Jeopardy question. I'm asking, what is a Kevin Gates? What has that nigga done of substance? And on top of that, he has the audacity to talk about to weigh in on another man's relationship.
Crazy.
LeBron and Savannah James, of all people. Oh, my brother, you gonna have to work many, many centuries before you can build up enough coins to try and go shopping in that store, nigga. You're not even allowed to daydream about that.
Come on, man.
So suppose Kevin Gates, the same nigga who's been married to his wife Drika since 2015, no news of any divorce or separation. But yet he's not just, and mind you, let's be clear now, he's not just posted up courtside with Brittany Renner.
Yeah.
He's come out as being in a relationship with her.
Facts. Yeah.
They've taken pictures with each other, claiming each other, the whole boo thing, boo this, boo that. Meanwhile, he's still married to a whole entire woman who he has 3 children with. And then on top of it, there's another chick that came out, some chick named Persia P. I looked her up briefly. Apparently, some other random broad famous for no reason, some amateur porn actress, porn studio wannabe owner, whatever, talking about that she was dating him, but she doesn't date married men. And when she starts suspecting he was still with his wife because he told her that they were separated, she called it up. You have any and every 304. I'm gonna try and be politically correct like you.
Yeah.
I want to be like you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You literally got any and every 304 coming out the woodwork, being able to lay claim to you while your whole entire wife is at home, good Muslim woman with your children.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about you would never want to be LeBron James because you don't like how his wife looks at him? Nigga, how about this? I don't like the way you look at all these women that ain't your wife. How about that?
How about that?
I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how you play any of your children's faces, got their mother looking like Boo Boo the Fool every time you flap your damn gums. I don't like that. And it's funny that he would say he wouldn't want to be LeBron James because personally, I feel like LeBron, there is very little a Kevin Gates nigga could ever say to me that would make me feel like I would need to actually handle him.
Right. Fact.
As a man, forget about celebrity or all that other stuff, but we talk about just as a man. As a man, I outclass and outrank you, nigga.
Facts.
You can't watch my doodoo stain draws. So if that's how I feel, I know LeBron got to feel like infinitely more so than that. Nigga, sit your $3 ass down before someone make change.
Wow,
out of here.
That's crazy, dude.
The audacity, bro. Can President Tangerine put some tariffs on Audacity?
Boy, look here. God damn.
Because niggas been running the bank up with that, boy.
Yeah.
Where do you get off?
For real. And that's the thing about this, that's the one thing I don't like about all this damn surveillance that's around, man. Like, you can't even punch somebody in their fucking mouth without, having to worry about them folks coming to get you. Back in the days, you say some shit like that, somebody would have tagged his ass. Somebody would have been whooped his ass by now. Kevin Gates is a nigga who just asking for an ass whooping, and I'm praying that somebody catches ass somewhere where ain't no cameras.
No, what he's one of the people that proves the old adage to be true. God really does look after and bless babies and fools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really does, man.
Because he be talking reckless for no reason. It's not like somebody was talking reckless to him. This man was minding his own business, living life, enjoying it with his wife. They're a beautiful couple. What the fuck is your problem, nigga?
Speaking of him and his what?
I'm glad Arthur did say that. Shout out to Arthur for making a comment. We love when y'all make comments because sometimes I don't really be knowing. But Arthur
I just saw that. Yeah,
the same dude that probably says he's still having relations with his cousin as well. I didn't know Drika was his cousin.
No,
what?
No. I don't think she's his cousin. No, he said before. Just again, another example of this nigga being a whole entire embarrassment to his bloodline. But apparently, this nigga, I don't know how early it was, but he said that he was attracted and actually had sex to his first cousin. So you can't even say it's some long distant cousin down the line.
Jesus.
His first cousin.
What a clown.
And that he didn't feel no ways about it.
Wow.
Okay. Because when I was Googling up, it said, yes, they cut. I was like, what? Okay, so that's the clarification. So it's another woman that's his cousin that he end up still having relations with.
That is.
I don't know. But again, this is the thing we're talking about.
His actual close cousin.
I don't like
okay,
how.
shout out to
I don't
Mila.
like how. I don't like how Savannah looks at his wife. I like the way the white girls look at him.
But he doesn't have a problem with how he looks at his cousins. Now that's very predatory and incestual.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he likes everybody that looks at him that isn't his wife. Apparently, so again, we got
probably men too, because he seemed like one of them old fruit booty ass fuck niggas.
I was just about to say that's one thing I hate. I don't know if I should say hate, but that's one thing I dislike with these gender fluid dudes, because I think he said he's gender fluid, and they just like to have sex with just any and anybody. And I think that's also a terminology to give people the okay to do some trash ass behavior.
Yeah, facts. But wow. Well, this gives me the perfect segue into our next segment. You know what I'm saying? Because while we're talking about trash ass people and trash ass relationships and incestuous actions and all this old crazy shit, I mean, that sounds Wild, right? That sounds crazy. Sounds like something that, you know, I mean.
Over the shoulder now. Let's see the outfit one time. Let's see the outfit.
So everybody remembers this, right? Kanye West, when he went to the last Grammys, he went with his wife, who apparently is filed for divorce. I'm not sure if it's gone through yet, but she's filed for divorce. And you know, we didn't show the whole video because she dropped that coat and it was just, you know, a thin piece of like veil, cotton or whatever, and her ass was just out to the whole world. And so she wallpapers the internet with her ass once again. You understand? And you know, everybody saw that as rather bizarre, right? And you know, they have a habit of doing this. Like every time you see this woman, she's naked. You know, and that shows that she has no respect for herself or for him, and also shows that he has no respect for her or for him because he allows it. In fact, he invites it. It is true degeneracy. And, you know, this is just what Kanye West has become known for at this point. It's for degeneracy. Did you guys see this? Yeah, this is a post from Ye that was on Twitter where he was promoting his song called Cousins, about his cousin that's locked in jail for killing a pregnant lady a few years after he told him that we wouldn't look at dirty magazines together anymore. And he says perhaps in his self-centered mess, he felt it was his fault that he showed him the dirty magazines when he was 6. Mind you, Kanye was 9. And we acted out what we saw. My dad had Playboy magazines, but the magazines I found on the top of my mom's closet were different. My name is Ye, and I sucked my cousin's dick till I was 14. That's Kanye West now. He has been reduced to an internet troll that just puts up all types of outrageous posts to try to be inflammatory and try to be provocative and just try to get attention by any means possible. You know, Kanye is pathetic at this point. Now, I look at this two ways because at the same time that I know what a pathetic creature Kanye West has become, that was a pretty heavy ass admission, you know, and that was some pretty heavy shit that was said in there. And if that's true, I'm not even sure what to believe what Kanye West says anymore, right? Because he could just be saying that to get people riled up. It could really be some shit that happened. But if it was some shit that really happened, number 1, 2, and 3, nigga, you don't need to be talking about it on Twitter. Like, didn't you just say, Bobby, get your ass in somebody's chair and get some therapy? Like, and Kanye always uses this excuse, or people use the excuse for him, because Kanye has a plethora of just clown ass dick suckers that follow him and make an excuse for anything and everything his goofy ass does. Everything. And you can count on one of these stupid motherfuckers to come in your comments. Well, what he really meant was, and you know what had happened was, nigga, you know, you can't keep using that you say you're bipolar. I'm not even sure if I believe that. You saying that you're bipolar as an excuse to be an asshole. You understand? And just go out of your way to offend people for no apparent reason. You know, people say he's sick. And the reason I don't buy it is because it seems like everything this nigga does is calculated. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing, and he keeps doing the same thing. And he goes out of his way to kind of offend everybody, just unnecessarily. And to me, that a person who's sick don't know what they're doing. Nigga, every time you do something, you do the same shit over and over and over again with what appears to be a very clear purpose, you know, which is to get attention and to be inflammatory and to offend people. You just want to make everybody hate you. And it's like, bruh, you know, he's married. He was married. And like I said, this woman clearly had no respect for herself. Water seeks its own level. Once again, you have no respect for yourself, and you go and you marry this narcissistic asshole because he got a bag. That's how I read it. You understand? And the same thing with Kanye. You know, Kanye is clearly the kind of dude, he ain't never had no women in his life. He probably never had no friends. And now he got money, he got notoriety, he's famous, he's stunting, he's out here, and he can pretty much buy any woman he wants. You dig? That's how it looks to me. That's how I read it. And so again, we have both of these people playing in the trash and disaster ensues. That's how I read it. What y'all say?
Well, with Kanye, I don't really have too much to say anymore about Kanye. I do want to believe he is clinically diagnosed with bipolar. With that being said, that goes into a deeper analogy and analysis that I'm not capable of doing. And there's some deep, dark things that's happening with him that I think he's coming out slowly but surely. We don't know what's true or what's not because, like you say, he do a lot of things just for shock value and to keep himself remained into the media and the headlines. Because even with the Drake beef, he wanted to insert himself into that as well. And I think a lot of that is just this neo complex of egotistical, always wanting to be the person to be looked at. That's why he put out the Jesus Walk. That's why he's moving into the light of God, and it's more of hopping in and out of these spaces. It's like nothing is stable. Like when somebody has purpose and when somebody's really out there trying to do something real, they'll continue on that path for a long time. It's like he just hops on whatever he thinks that people will follow him on or people will like him about. And in reality, it's not hitting like he thought it was going to be hitting. And then he talks about Black empowerment, but yet you want the notoriety and the support of white inclusion. Even when you go back to his interview with Sway, and Sway's like, yeah, and he's like, how, Sway, how? It's just that egotistical, like, you can't tell me nothing. And he even says it in his rhymes. You can't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? So this wannabe hierarchy to be this super saint or somebody that he wants people to worship him in a neo-Nazi complex or a savior syndrome that he has, and it's not working out for him. He's actually pivoting, spiraling downhill, and it's just only getting worse and worse. And he thinks that he's doing something by conquering these white women and exposing them to be naked and doing what they want. That's also an egotistical thing on his behalf. But what he failed to realize is that these white women don't mind getting naked, and they're not on the same level as any other woman on this planet, because white women can be very degenerate. They can portray the most trashful behavior and still get the quality white men that they get. The financially qualified white men will wife hoes. They are known to wife hoes. That's why one of the biggest films that in white society was the Richard Gere film, Pretty Woman, where he was wifing up a goddamn prostitute and turned her into a housewife, and that was looked at and admired by so many people in white society because that's what they do. Even at the old age, the old man who married Anna Nicole Smith, wife this big titty porn whore up, and she got the fruits and the labor behind his hard work. That's their society. That's what they do. And he thinking that he's doing something special, and in actuality, he's not. You're only making yourself look like a jackass, and I land my plane on that.
Facts. Bobby.
I never have much to say about Kanye. I never do. And it's seriously because I really truly believe that he is in fact sick. I don't care what no one says. Now, there's the Kanye West that we all knew and loved back in the 2000s, the college dropout, late registration, graduation, that Kanye West that we all loved. Yeah. And to be honest, that's still, I still personally, that whole era, I think that was amazing. And Kanye West was definitely the lead of that era. Just as far as the whole vibe and persona was very much a breath of fresh air. amidst everything that everybody else was doing.
I agree.
And even the little arrogance or the little hubris that he had, that was the only little swag that he brought with him. I didn't really see that as necessarily indicative of who he actually was as a person, per se. I felt like it was more of a persona that he's putting on, because, you know, he's out here not just representing the Midwest, but he's also on a label like Rockefeller, where you got a lot of egos in the room. You got Jay-Z in the room, you got Dame Dash in the room, you got Beanie Siegel, you got a lot of cats up in there at a time when there was a lot of competition, and the East and that Eastern swagger and bravado was at the top. To not have that kind of arrogance and that self-confidence, at least as a persona, you weren't going to cut it. But everything for him really changed, and no one has been able to show me otherwise. He was already down bad when his mother passed. That was already a very significant, deep blow for him. But you can't tell me that when the whole Kim Kardashian thing went down, you can't tell me that didn't completely break him.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Ever since that moment, dude has been a completely unmoored ship. And it's only gotten worse. Yeah. And the problem is, and I actually feel bad for Kanye West. I know a lot of people want to go ahead and just, you know, attribute that to him as a character flaw. But I feel bad for Kanye West because, unfortunately, he really and truly is a victim of his own success. If this was Uncle Chris,
okay,
cousin Letitia, man down the street or whatever, he wasn't going to be spiraling like this. His family would have been put him on the meds. When he starts flying off the handle, they would have called the people to come and, you know, to the paramedics to come and the police to come and cool him down, Baker at them for 72 hours, put a 72-hour hold on him in somebody's mental hospital or in the that section of the hospital that deals with those kind of people. They give him his meds, let him calm down, get back to himself, and send him right back on home, and he'd be good like new again. And then you have the law enforcement, the hospital, whatever, you know, scolding his family members. Hey, make sure that he or she takes their medication.
Yeah.
You see how they are when they're off their meds. Make sure they're taking their medication. Unfortunately, because Kanye West isn't that status anymore, but because he is a high-profile celebrity, big money earner, made it to billionaire status before.
Yeah.
He is surrounded by people that do not have his best interests in mind. People that simply want to keep access to the spigot. They don't want to bother to check him or give him no tough love or to get in his ass because they're too afraid that he'll cut him off.
Yeah.
Those nice, generous paychecks that they're getting are going to dry up. They're not going to get to go to red carpet premieres. They're not going to get to go to the album listening parties. They're not going to get to hobnob with these celebrities and these wealth and tastemakers that they never see if it wasn't for their affiliation with this man. And so because they don't want to lose access, they'll sit right back there and watch him fly off the deep end and just go like everybody else. Damn, man, that's crazy. Hey, yeah, what we getting to this week, dog? So because of that, Kanye would never be able to get the actual help he needs unless legal intervention were to jump in the picture. And even then, that's difficult because he's got enough paper where if he pays all the right people, he can grease the wheels in his favor. So when I look at Kanye, I truly, truly feel bad for him because I know he's going through it.
Right.
And there's nothing that can be done to help him. There's no one that can be placed in his life to have that kind of weight with him. The people who are already there just already made their peace with it. And they just sit back hoping it doesn't get too bad. And people like him will never get the help that they need. He really needs to be in one of them Britney Spears type conservatorships. That's what needs to happen.
Okay. Look, I hear you. I don't buy it, but I hear you. You know, and for those of y'all that really, you know, believe that he's sick, I get it and I agree. At any rate, you got to get off Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether you see it the way I see it or the way you see it, you got to get off Twitter and get some help. That's all.
Someone needs to take his phone. Take the man's phone.
He ain't got no real ones around him, bro, because this shit is ridiculous at this point, you know.
But say that part again, because again, that's what it looks like. Kanye is just an extreme example. but there's a lot of people moving similarly messed up through life right now because they ain't got no real ones in their life.
Yeah.
So for those people like that, don't laugh at Kanye too hard, because some of y'all look the same way to a lot of us as well.
And I think something that needs to be looked at is the fact that, you know, single Black mothers, they have, you know, I've run across a lot in my lifetime. And no disrespect to single Black mothers, but I think one of the hardest thing for you to do is to raise a child, especially a young man.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because the two-parent dynamic is successful in that realm because it allows the divine femininity of a woman to really enrich and mold those children in the household. The divine masculinity, it does the same way from the man's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a woman, she has to provide both the masculine and the feminine part of it. The problem is when she applies the masculine part, it doesn't have the effect and weight of it, meaning that when you discipline a child, it's not as effective as a man disciplining a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is the child knows that even if you beat that child worse than any man has ever beat that child, you're going to come on the back end to basically soothe that child, you know, with gifts or comfort or even cooking favorite foods or whatever like that to kind of balance out your actions against the child, because inside you are built with emotions. So emotionally, you know you're doing the right thing by disciplining your child, but on the other perspective of it, you feel bad about it. So now you're like, I gotta make up for doing this, even though it was right for me to do it. So now you're having a power struggle in your head, and in reality, that child knows that and plays upon it. I'll take your beatings, but I know you're gonna come and cook me my favorite food right afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think with Kanye West, and that's why a lot of people always say that when his mother died, he kind of really went off the deep end, because his mother had a control on him, like most mothers do, especially on their son. They have a powerful control over their children. And a lot of times when you do that and you coddle your children, they don't know how to function in reality. And I think she coddled him so much that her powers on him were so powerful. But when she left, there was that power has dissipated, and nobody had that exact power over Kanye. And that's why he's able to run wild with no kind of repercussions or any type of remorse behind it. And that's the way he's spiraling in that direction. And I just wanted to land my plane on that.
Yeah, and real quick before we move on, I hear what you're saying, and the women, when they discipline the kids, are too harsh because they're overcompensating for the masculine energy they don't have. So they overdo it, and they discipline them too.
Just like what was mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
dudes trying to play gangster, but they don't not really about that, so they don't understand the intricacies, the nuances of it.
And so, you know, you also have that dynamic, and you know, none of it ends well. So let me move on to our final topic today. You know, this is really, really good. I mean, you know, celebrity trending news. We got to talk about the homie, right? We got to talk about the homie. And I also want to, let me present this stuff first, and then we'll get into this question, because there's so much, dude. There's just so much, you know. Shannon Sharpe to step away from ESPN amid ongoing lawsuit, right? You got the initial. Well, actually, the initial. I was supposed to put this up first. Shannon Sharpe, NFL Hall of Famer, accused of rape in $50 million civil lawsuit, stepping away from ESPN duties, right? And then you got another one here. This was bizarre. Back-to-back allegations. Second woman sues Shannon Sharpe for rape, claims he raped and threatened to ruin her if she told of his heinous crime. I mean, the headlines are just stacking up against Shannon Sharpe to the point where our brother made a goddamn hostage video. Bruh.
To you directly and from the heart, this is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Buzbee, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Buzbee targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Buzbee want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Well, you know, he loves all of us. That's good. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, that's great. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Uncle Shannon. And let me preface the shellacking that I'm going to give Shannon Sharpe tonight with the fact that I actually like Shannon Sharpe. You understand what I'm saying? But you got to get this work. You understand? It just is what it is, bro. You have been doing goofy shit since Hector was a pup. You understand what I'm saying? Shannon, good brother. There's so much to unpack here. I don't even know where to start. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, the thing that
I'm finna shut all this ish down tonight. I want to date my wage.
Stay right here.
Where y'all at? Hey, Chad, where they at?
Hold on. Cause you know I keep it on me now.
Yeah.
I keep it on me. You want to date your what?
I want to date my wage. Not my age. I want to date my wage. So where are they? Cause y'all always talking about date your age. I want to date my wage. So come on with it.
Well, you talking
as a matter of fact, I'm taking applicants as we speak.
Well, you talking spicy tonight, boy.
I'm gonna let y'all go first because I feel like I just got too damn much. You dig? The hubris and the self-unawareness. The self-unawareness is on fleek, bruh. Like this guy, there's so many angles. I'm gonna start off and then I'm gonna let it go and come back. But there are so many angles and so many moving parts to this. But long story short, Shannon Sharpe, you are a legend, a former NFL player, a Hall of Famer. You've been all pro. How many times? I lost count. 3-time Super Bowl champion. Very successful businessman. You got your own podcast popping. You got your own brand of liquor going out here. This guy is doing a lot. He's an extraordinary talent. I like Shannon Sharpe. But I thought that his story kind of is the quintessential example of what tonight's show is about. Playing in the trash. You got all this shit going for you. All these accolades, bruh. You understand? And you put that shit on the line and more than likely have blown $100 million deal for OnlyFans mud. Really? Really, dog? That's what we're doing? That's what's hot in the streets right now? It don't make Billy Goat sense. I remember what the old folks used to say. That don't make Billy Goat sense, boy. I'm going to talk to you like I talk like Shannon Sharpe talk. That don't make Billy Goat sense. The fuck you doing? You understand? And and it just makes my head explode. He talking about dating his wage, not his age. No, you don't, Shannon. Stop. Let's stop. That chick looked like Big Ethel from the damn Archie comic books, bro. There's nothing attractive about this woman. Fuck you talking about? This plain look, dog. If you look up plain Jane in the dictionary, it's a picture of that heifer. What are you doing? She's a strong 3 at her very best, nigga. You blew the bag for that? Fuck out of here. No, Shannon, no. And on top of everything else, she's white. Not just white. She's not even white. She's white. You understand what I'm saying? Like, she's that pasty white, little skinny ass pasty white girl built like an 8-year-old boy. You understand what I'm saying? And you want that. You blew the bag, $100 million bag for that. And you talking about you date your wage. But I can't even finish her. I'm going to just pass it on to y'all. I'm going to come back. But goddamn, you can't fix stupid on that level. What y'all got?
Shannon Sharp looked like he was in the Boots in the Ground video. He looked like he had the fan out. Where y'all at?
Where them fans at? Where them fans at?
I'm like, you know, a lot of these women are not going to gravitate to you, bro, because you just send mixed messages when you say and do certain things. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot to unpack. You know, when I talk about Kanye, when I talk about Shannon Sharp, when I talk about Puff Daddy, when I talk about R. Kelly, when I talk about Bill Cosby, I can talk about them because I understand how to separate the artist from the reality, the main person. Meaning that I can separate Bill Cosby versus Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah.
So I can separate the Puff Daddy versus Sean Combs. You know, when you look at it, you have to separate. In order to hold them responsible, you have to separate the two. All right? The person that is in the entertainment realm and the person in the reality realm.
Yeah.
I can make waves for the entertainment side, but I would never hold them or try to make any type of examples for them on the reality side.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And I think it's very important for that because when we talk about celebrities like that, a lot of people want to have sympathy because they inflate the two. It's like when you do that, you can't really hold them accountable and they don't get the harder message on that level. So the Shannon Sharp, the accolades, the Hall of Fame, just like the media put out there, but they did it in a kind of a way that was really a backhanded compliment to him. Because the NFL Hall of Famer, you should know better. You're like the elite of elites. So this should not have even been something you should be affiliated with. But since you're affiliated with, we're going to humiliate you even more by highlighting it in bold letters, NFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So, as great as he was on the field, is getting destroyed by his behavior off the field.
Yeah.
We see that with young adults nowadays. You're seeing a lot of these young adults that are great on the field, and then off the field, their behavior is fucked up. Just like you mentioned with that up and coming college player who choked out his girlfriend.
Right.
Like, you're phenomenal on the field, but off the field, you're fucking up your whole career, your brand, and everything like that. That's going to come back and haunt you because even when you proceed in life to do great things, they're always going to revert back to that and try to tarnish you by that incident. Even if you've grown from it, you're still going to have that as the blemish on your resume. And this is why it's very important for people to listen to what we say on Manifestations, because it will help you out in the long run. Another thing that I think a lot of people are doing now, and I see in podcasts and on platforms, is that we're demonizing our women around the same age as us. If we're around 40 or 50 years old, we're demonizing those women as if there's no good quality women or no assets to women that are older or in our age range. It's far from the fucking truth. There are great women in your age range, just like there's horrible women in your age range.
Yeah.
There's fucked up women that's younger than you, and there might be some great women that might be younger than you. But if we sit back and we just make it seem like everybody that grows old with us is just tarnished, and we should be looking at these younger prospects, then like I said on the last show, you remember we always had this discussion when there was this big age gap, and I said, okay, well, how young is too young? You know what I'm saying? Because you say 19 is legal, right? 18 is legal. So does a year make a difference? Honestly, without the laws, let's not apply the laws. Let's just be real honest and logical. Without the laws saying that 17 and 18, legal and non-legal, without the laws, is if I date an 18-year-old, it's fine. But if I date a 17-year-old, it's wrong. No, let's see the logics behind that. What's the difference between a 17-year-old mind and an 18-year-old mind? What is the difference? And that's what I'm trying to get fellas to understand. Like, how low is too low? I feel like if you're dropping down to that level, you can go all the way low. You might even go into the 12-year-olds if that's the case. Because to be honest with you, I can point out some 12-year-old bodies that look way better than the bodies of a 19-year-old. Not saying that the perversion of looking at a young girl like that, but you know that the food that they're eating, they're developing real fast. So you have young girls that are developed like grown women. And if you have the mindset of going younger and younger and younger, you're going to find yourself being attracted to a young girl that is fully developed. So the mindset, this is what I tell people, like, listen, I'm not a fan of people going younger. That's on y'all, but I'm not a fan of that, because even in my moral stance, I would never date anybody that's the same age as my stepdaughters. And my stepdaughter's around 30 now. You know what I'm saying? That's just my mentality, because I'll look at it as, if I'm dating somebody around my stepdaughter's age, then it feels like I'm dating my stepdaughter. We don't have things in common. So when I see these guys like Shaquille O'Neal, and I see guys like Shannon Sharp and these other guys that go young like that, even with Bill Belichick, right? And his young girl. Like, come on, these are women that can be your grandchildren, and also these are women that are younger than your own children. And psychologically, it plays a big role on your children. And I think that sometimes we go in life that we have this thing where we only care about self and we don't care about the others. And that's what happened with Drea. Can you imagine what his 22-year-old friends are saying when he has to tell his 22-year-old friends, or he sees his 22-year-old friend sees that his mom is dating somebody the same age as his son? So if I'm I can't remember the young boy's name, but if I'm Drea's son's friend and I see that your stepdad is around our age, do you know how much jokes that is like that? You know how much jokes I would throw at you every day? Dog, you lucky that your mama got with that dude, because I was gonna be your father and I was gonna tell your ass to get your ass in the house. Dog, mentally, that would fuck that child up. And it is fucking that child up, because when you look at his demeanor, when he takes pictures around that, you can see in his face that he don't want to be there. He don't want to be in that atmosphere. Body language says a lot. And when you are a functioning adult, you have to be fucking mindful of how you play in and out those trenches like that. And bringing it back to Shannon Sharp is, dog, you're playing with a 19-year-old. And I want to say this, and I'll land my plane because we could go on and on all night about this. But this is a young girl who I believe is from a diaspora background. And I wanted to mention that in the diaspora background, a lot of these young girls pretty much go for older guys, because that was a way for them to basically survive in a world of poverty. You know, had a lot of guys, rich guys, that would go after these young girls. So they would say, hey, I got money. and my money, I can take care of your mother, your father, everybody under that household. So guess what? The family members now say, all right, that's a trade-off that we can do to sacrifice and help us through the struggling financial crisis that we're going through, because not everybody over here is able to live on a good level like that. It's basically check to check, or resource to resource. And so with that, that type of behavior that happens a lot in the diaspora, it becomes a norm over here. And all that being beat on and things like that occurs a lot in the diaspora. A lot of that toxic behavior is very well common in that diaspora element. So they bring a lot of that over here, and people over here aren't really in tune to that type of behavior. So when you get engaged in that type of behavior that they draw you into, now you're drawn into that, and you go from being on the same level of role playing or whatever you call that to be, to now being a solid what do you call it? A solid suspect in the situation. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
So now people don't understand how detrimental that is. Playing with that type of level, knowing that over here, these people do not take that shit lightly, and they will sit back and railroad your whole career over that.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. You guys got to be mindful about how you do things. And like I told Dr. Umar when I had that interview with him in 2014, I said, Dr. Umar, you got to get a woman. You got to get a wife, because the way when you're building, you are building on bad levels. You're building on quicksand when you're not running out here with a strong queen by your side. Because when you're out here trying to vet while building, you're going to get a lot of pretenders that will say, yes, I'm the perfect wife for you, and get in that position. And once they get in that position, now they got the keys, and you hand over the whole empire to them. And now their hidden agenda comes all the way out. And now you're railroaded. You say you're blindsided, and you don't know how this happened. No, know how this happened because you didn't vet properly before you got to that level of success. When you got to that level of success, because you're so pulled in different directions, you don't have the mentality and capacity to vet as properly as you needed to do, and you vet wrong, and now it railroads your whole legacy into the trash can, and that's where you find yourself at, and that's where Shannon Sharpe has found himself at, with these allegations being piled up on top of another one. So I'll land my plane on that.
Oh man. You said so much, and it's a lot to say, and I get it. Real quick before you jump in, Bobby, I just want to make sure I give a visual so that people understand exactly what we're talking about, what we're dealing with. This is the woman in question. Hold on. What? Oh, man, it won't. It says invalid file type. Damn. Okay, so I can't show her.
She that ugly?
Yeah, oh, my gosh. It says invalid file type when I tried to show her, dude. Is she that ugly? Exactly. Damn it. Okay, go ahead, Bobby. You got it. You got the floor.
Oh yeah. One thing I wanted to say right quick. Also remember in the diaspora, I think Bobby, y'all should know, when you're over there in the diaspora and you're graduating from school, these girls are graduating high school at 15. So they're entering college at 15. Keep that in mind. All right.
Interesting. Very interesting point. Okay. That actually gives a lot of context to why we probably got some bullshit out here going on. Okay. Okay, I got you, dog. Go ahead, Bob. What you got?
Sometimes life comes at you fast. There's a number of things funny about this whole kerfuffle. I personally was absolutely tickled, and I found it hilarious that you got to be careful, boy. I found it tickled that all this just so happened to get exposed the same weekend as opening weekend for Sinners.
Yes, I did think about that.
Where we also saw what happened when you welcome them folks in.
Yes,
and everything. I found that hilarious. what further makes that even funnier is I can remember some other moments from Unc, where most notably he was talking about Miss B Nasty and how he wants to sit. He doesn't, and again, people tried to talk to him. Monique tried to talk to him about this. Ocho Cinco tried to talk about you need to get a good solid woman. I don't want to go. I want a sitter.
That's what he said.
Okay, he said he want a sitter, and
The
his
power of
sitter
the tongue.
and to mess them up on opening weekend of sinners, dude. You could be Stephen King, Ryan Coogler, Ridley Scott, and any and every other great writer and screenwriter combined. You couldn't make this shit up.
Facts. That's wild.
We are living in a parallel universe. Just accept the fact. It's crazy. I also found it ironic that not too long ago, I can't recall when the interview was. I know it was this year. I can't recall where it was. But Shannon called himself taking shots. He didn't really take shots, but the whole tone of how he went about even introducing this was hella suspect. And at the time, it wasn't. But now in hindsight, it's like, you really had no room to open your mouth and twerk your gums, bro. He took shot at Donnell Rawlings, who, mind you, is the same exact age. Exact age as Shannon. They both 68 babies, 1968. Took shots at Donnell Rawlings for dating and having a whole entire relationship with Stephanie George from Bad Girls Club back when she was 23 years old. And they have a 23-year age gap.
Ain't that something?
Right there. So when she was 20, she's like 34 now, I think. So a little while ago, when she was 23, she was dating and also became the mother of Donnell's child back then. And he had the nerve to be asked some questions about that and the age gap and everything else. And if you think she's too young or whatever. And here you go getting busted for dealing with a chick when she's 19. Look at you.
Bruh, and at the end of the day, talk to me, man. What's 54 minus 19? I think that's 35. Last I checked, that was 35. So there's a 35-year difference between Shannon and the girl that he's with, but he gonna talk. He gonna talk. Are you kidding me?
Say what you want to say. I mean, you might. I mean, for a lot of people, I'm sure they'd say that someone of Donnell or Shannon's age dealing with someone having relations with someone who's 19 or 23 is the same thing in their eyes, and I won't disagree with that. But at least you can say with Donnell Rawlings, there was actual attraction, there was dating, looking to actually make a family, or at least a modern day family. I mean, they didn't get married or anything, but at least trying to go about it that way, at least. You out here basically having a whole entire hookups with a 19-year-old. No intention of settling down and doing right or anything by her whatsoever. You really were not the person to introduce this. Not even a little bit. And Donnell wasn't bothering you. He wasn't doing anything sideways. So to even bring that up like that, don't even know where that came from. I mean, the man's a legendary comedian. He's worked with all the greats, had a great running stint in a relationship with Dave Chappelle on The Chappelle Show. There's a lot of ground he could have covered without having to go into that.
Yeah.
The need to do that when you literally are colleagues in that same endeavor is wild. But you got to be careful how you move, man, because sometimes that thing come back on you, boy.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's got to be more careful. That's a life lesson for folks. If you're going to stay in our business, make sure you own business.
Yeah.
But as far as him dealing with this Lincoln, Nebraska 6, you've at some point, and I've been having a lot of discussions about this past week. There's been a lot of new ground that I've kind of uncovered, a lot of good, solid discussion I've had. And I've come to a conclusion about a few things. I would honestly say right now at this juncture in time, the biggest issue, that might not have been the case last year, the year before last, but today, right now, in 2025, it has dawned on me, speaking specifically for us, the biggest issue that Black men face in America is the the absence of sexual discipline.
Yeah.
That is the biggest issue that's facing us, because now every one of us obviously is in Shannon Sharp's shoes. We're not in his shoes. We're not making the money he's making. We don't have the access that he has. And all of us aren't looking to go and have 35-year age gaps with women that we're dealing with.
Right.
But every finger licking, syrup sipping, wood grain gripping hour damn near, it's another story about some brother getting set up with a child support issue, making somebody a mother that they should have no business even dealing with. Or some horrible issue with the baby mothers making their life hell, keeping their children for them, XYZ and the third. Some crazy chick stalking them and busting out the windows, or they're breaking their family, their marriage, their relationship because they can't keep the Johnsons to themselves. Goofy niggas trying to get on Elon Musk interwebs talking about, well, you see, I look at the science and it is not natural for men to be just with one woman's. Monogamy is not natural to us, brother. You see, back in Africa, we had many multiple spouses. So we not going to do this. This is American. The white man put this on us. At times, all this ignoramus gobbledygook babble that'll literally melt your brains in a given 5 seconds. But all this shit in part and parcel of the same epidemic.
Yeah.
Absence of sexual discipline.
Facts.
And there's about 99 different ways this stuff railroads us and jacks us up and turns us every which way but loose. But the disturbing part is we keep seeing this happen over and over again in different ways and capacities. And at no point does it ever seem to spark change. Hey, I gotta move different out here, man. This ain't, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I've come to the conclusion, and shout out to my boy Victor Vincent. I gotta sit down with him and see if we can put some stuff together. I might see if I can get him on our show. He has a dope podcast that he has. I might be a guest on there as well at some point in the future. But he said something to me that just really, it's been rattling my head nonstop, and I can't get it out, and I like it, and I really see a lot of truth to it. He said that lack of sexual discipline is a mental illness. And I wholeheartedly, I had to think about it for a minute. It didn't take long. I wholeheartedly agree with it. If it was up to me, I'd put in the next DSM manual if I could. Because you literally have brothers getting tore up again 99 different ways because they lack sexual discipline. And you still see dudes watching this happen in real time. And instead of saying, hey, we got to move different, or man, this ain't it, this ain't the wave, they just sit there and whine and complain like some hoes, but still go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
And this is a hypocrisy, because I don't want to hear these dudes talk anymore, because we get on women nonstop about how they keep lining up your baby mama number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. How they can't keep their legs closed, how they just smut themselves out nonstop, despite all the consequences and drawbacks they have.
Yeah.
We keep talking about all the, now you're a single man, now you're a single, all this goofy stuff. But niggas living on the other side of the coin doing the same version as them.
Yeah. Yeah. Niggas running around carrying themselves like plantation bugs.
I don't want to hear about it anymore. Do not complain. And then something else I said about it is that you can also tell that this is born of a lack of masculinity, because the way these men move in response to these issues is not how men deal with things. Women are the ones who are content to complain and vent and whine and cry. We've heard the age-old issue about women getting in arguments with men because, I'm telling you about my day. I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to try to solve it. I just want you to listen to me. But I am listening. No, you're trying to fix it. I want you to listen to me. That's how women are wired to be. Men, we're solution-oriented. We like to get shit done. We don't like to have the same issues sitting on our face nonstop grinning at us.
Right.
We want to knock that thing out the paint. If men were really serious and really see what's happening to people like Shannon Sharp and Bill Cosby and them as an injustice, then they need to be going to try to change some laws. You need to be getting into politics or looking to back and support politicians who are looking to either change the laws, add some laws, or take off laws off the books that are targeting men and making it easy for women to go and abuse power to go after men. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing any concrete action. All we're seeing is dudes whining and complaining, saying, man, I got to get me a passport, man. I don't know that you messing with these Western women, especially the black ones. I just get my passport. I just going to Brazil. I going to such and such. That's what we're seeing. That's not a solution. That's running.
Yeah. Thanks.
But these dudes, and in closing, all I want to say is that I'm at the point now where I'm no longer content to have these conversations with grown men anymore, because I believe that it's too late. What Frederick Douglass said, more than ever in this situation, just is abundantly clear to me. It is easier to build strong boys than it is to fix broken men. A lot of these dudes, their lack of sexual discipline and their brokenness started in childhood.
Yeah.
Some of it started from sexual assault, being introduced to sex too early. Some of it came as being given bad information by older peers and their fathers, their uncles, older boys. And we had this nice long conversation this week about some of these older men grooming these boys to be not for sex with them, but for grooming them to be hypersexual. But a lot of these dudes, a lot of people, period, I would wager, they do not advance intellectually when it comes to sex beyond when they have that first sexual encounter.
Yeah.
The maturity stops right then. And this is a perfect example. When you think about the lack of thought process behind how they're moving and operating, the inability to adapt to new information. I see the trap. I see the hole in the ground. Let me not walk into the hole, as opposed to let me just walk head in and complain about it.
Yeah.
That speaks to a mental blockage. They're operating off of information they got when they were children. They built their foundation on top of it, and now they can't split for them to fix anything.
Yeah.
We have got to start talking to our young boys, or those of us that have children, that have nephews, grandsons, and we're teachers to some respect. Got to be careful with that. But any of us who are in a mentorship position with young boys, we have got to start addressing sexual relationships, and dealing with the opposite sex early in a functional, healthy way with them.
Yeah.
And that is not saying, man, this is what you got to do with these women, man, or man, these girls like it like this. Or, no, not that foolishness. We need to talk in healthy, functional ways about how to engage in this the right way.
Yeah.
Give them proper constraints, give them challenges, and affirm them in ways that does not relate to proving themselves sexually. Because that's how you get to the Shannon Sharps.
Right.
That's how you get to the Bill Cosbys. That's how you get to these issues now. And that's how you have this whole cottage industry where parasites like Tony Busby can thrive, trying to target men, black men in particular, for sexual relationships that are consensual, trying to get a bag. We're not supporting actual rapists and sexual abusers and assaulters, but the men who are being targeted for a bag because they had poor sexual discipline, and that's being used as their Achilles heel.
Yeah, facts. And I'm glad you said that. Really actually segues into my final point. And before I make it, I just want to touch on a couple of quotes that I got from our good brother, urban legend Will Evans. If y'all haven't listened to him, you really should start. That's a razor sharp young brother, and he was spitting some game. And I got two really important quotes from him that really directly speak to what we're talking to tonight. He said, lack of sexual discipline will literally destroy your life. Quotes. And then the other one was, the most dangerous thing for a successful man to be is single. And that brother be cooking. And I'm glad that you touched on that last nugget so that I can kind of piggyback on that and close out. Shannon
Can you
Sharp,
get that brother's name again?
urban legend Will Evans.
Urban legend Will Evans.
He is the dude. I'm gonna start posting some of his stuff in the chat. But like Shannon Sharp, our good brother Shannon Sharp, you talking about it's a shakedown. Duh, nigga. We know it's a shakedown. We know that you're a target. You don't know that you're a target. That's why you out here moving like this. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, on top of everything else, the fact that she's a very young woman, literally fresh out of high school. She was in high school the year prior to when you started messing with her, bro. And you pushing 60. She's white. She's significantly smaller than you. You're this big old black guy, and she's this little white woman. All the stereotypes, just like you said in your hostage video, Shannon, all the stereotypes that we could possibly imagine are probably on that video. Sounds like you're into race play. I didn't even get into your text messages. I'm going to talk about that in the video that I make separate from this because, you know, in the text messages, she is talking wild and crazy. And Shannon put those out basically to try to put it out there. Okay, it's no way I raped this woman, you know, because she's clearly a slut monkey. And, you know, it just is what it is. She wanted everything. You know, she's talking about you got to put this big black baby in me. She said it a couple times. She has this, you know, obsession with him putting a big black baby in her. And anytime you have a white person who's talking to a black person like that and they're mentioning your race, you know, in their sexting, clearly to me, they're into some type of race play, possibly BDSM, role play, and all that kind of stuff. And that's a whole other can of worms, and that also does not bode well for you. Shannon Sharpe, when they look at you and they look at her, they see an innocent little white girl. Doesn't matter that she's the freak of the week and she's doing OnlyFans and, you know, she's doing all kind of shit. She wants you to kick her in the titty or whatever. That don't matter. They see an innocent little white girl and a big black nigga. That's what they see. You understand what I'm saying? And this is what you have to know, nigga. It's simple as that. That is what the people in the court are going to see. That's what the people at ESPN see. Everybody around you, for the most part, that's been your bosses and the people who have been funding you have been white folks. You're surrounded by them in your business world. And I'm not saying that all white people are racist, but a good portion of the most powerful ones are. And even if they're not racist, when they see a black man, especially a big black man like yourself, a big muscular black man like they wish they were, banging a young banging a young white girl, they gonna feel a way and they gonna come for you, nigga. You got to see this shit before it comes. You ain't got no real ones around you neither. Just like Kanye, you ain't got no real ones around you neither to check you. Be like, dog, what the fuck you doing? Or maybe, you know, the shit that you into is just a little too crazy and you just don't tell nobody about the shit and you just keep it all under wraps. That's kind of what I'm inferring from everything that I've seen thus far. I pray for our brother. I hope everything works out well, but bro, this shit don't look good. And my God, who the hell is advising you? You offered this mutt $10 million? If you didn't look guilty before, nigga, you got to read the room, bro. You got to know what it is out here because it will inform how you move. I mean, the dumb jock shit got to go. When you reach a certain level, you got to educate yourself so that you don't put yourself in these type of predicaments that make it easy for the white supremacist power structure to come for your ass. I'm just saying. Okay, so I just had to get that off my chest. Shannon Sharpe, you done pissed me off, bro. I love Shannon Sharpe, but goddamn, really? This is what we doing? Oh my God. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into our final segment, which is the crown check. You know, I found this sister and she was so dope. I just had to share her with y'all. This is our good sister, Shirley Ann Jackson. And for those of y'all who don't know who Shirley Ann Jackson is, let me tell you a little bit about her. Some of her accolades: National Medal of Science, CIBA GEIGY, Exceptional Black Scientist, head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. God damn. How smart do you have to be head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission? Co-chair of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, president of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, president of the American Association for Advancement of Science, and the scientist is known for conducting research that laid the groundwork for inventions such as fiber optic cables, solar cells, touch-tone telephones, the portable fax, and others. She is one of the most preeminent figures in the science of semiconductors and their optical, electronic, magnetic, and transport properties, semiconductor, quantum wells, and superlatives. My God, this woman is so smart. It just makes my head hurt. I don't know how you get that smart, but shout out to you, Sister Shirley Ann. That is impressive, dog. I'm reading it and I'm like, God damn, I gotta go back to school. Yo, Sister cooked, you dig? And I just wanted to give her a really big shout out because that's a really powerful sister that has really contributed a lot. She conducted the resource that created fiber optic cables, for crying out loud. That's serious stuff and a real contribution. Shout out to that sister. All right, so today's show has been an excellent show. Y'all have any final words?
That's a great crown check, man. I worked with fiber optic cables. My uncle had put me under his wing when he was working for a cable company that put the fiber optic cables inside the Publix warehouse on 183rd and 441 around there. So back in, what was that, late 90s, I was in that warehouse putting up fiber optic cables in there. It's a very intense and very tedious type of job. Dealing with fiber optic cables, looking into it also can cause a little eye damage when the more you prolong in that work. So it just shows you the intense details within that optic cable and just the process of what optic cables have done when it comes to even relatively of transmitting technology at a fast rate. So just knowing that a Black woman, we have so many phenomenal Black women, and a lot of them have contributed to major critical parts of our lives. And that's why I will never, never, never turn my back on a Black woman. I'm always out here protecting them and forever will do because of such dominant and so many queens like the sister that you just presented tonight. It just goes to show you that, talking about the movie Sinners, why is it we're letting the doors open? Why are we inviting them in? We already know the destructive meaning behind it. We have so many other wonderful Black women we can invite in, and we just don't do it. Instead, we demonize them instead of finding the quality ones to uplift and cherish and treat them like a queen. And with that being said, make better decisions, fellas. It will end up benefiting you in the long run. And there's no other beneficial to a Black man than a powerful Black queen. Trust me, your legacy and financial well-being all depends on it, and it will definitely be fruitful for you in the long run. And I'll land my plane on that.
Well said. Bobby.
Big ups to that sister. She is super critical and necessary to the present and the future, man. Those technological innovations that she has a hand in literally have been responsible for everything that's preceded us into this 21st century, man. Telecommunications, internet connection, technology. Without her, companies like NVIDIA and all these other ones wouldn't even have a leg to stand on. So she is her.
Yeah, facts.
100%. Big ups to her for that. It's amazing. And all those other organizations that she's associated with in those positions and accolades. Shawty, a heavy hitter. Big up to her. Very proud of her.
Yeah.
Continue to keep up the excellent, amazing work. Keep going ahead and setting the standard. As when we talked about tonight, playing in the trash. Look, let's be honest. A hard head is gonna make a soft ass every single time.
Facts.
That has proven to be true for eons now. At some point, the sympathy and compassion has to run out because what are we doing? We can't keep sitting watching this pit trap up ahead and watching the person in front of us walk in, that person walk in, and then we get to the lip, and instead of saying, you know what, let me make a hard left or a right turn and not fall in, walk headlong in, and then complain about the pit trap.
Mm-hmm.
At what point do you reach where you say, you know what? Let me switch up and do different.
Yeah.
Where is your sense of self-preservation? Where is your common sense? Where's your rationale and reason? Because it's Shannon Sharp today, but we're going to be having the same conversation 6 months or less about somebody else. And it's,
it's coming.
Damn, did we not just see this happen before?
It's coming.
How many times do y'all like to watch the same movie over and over again? Like, as if we can't all quote the lines by now. At this point, even the dumbest person that stays on social media that can't get off, they can start writing some of these legal briefs that Tony Busby and them be putting out at this point.
You done seen it so damn much. I'm just saying. It reads exactly the same as the one Cassie did, bruh. It's almost exactly the same.
You know, dudes like Tony Busby, and specifically because he's been at the helm of most of these lawsuits recently.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he and his paralegals don't even have to type up any new documents. They probably literally have a one-size-fits-all document.
They got
all they do is change the names of the plaintiff and the defendant and the signatures and the dates, and that's it.
They changed the template. Yeah,
this dude is like the Henry T. Ford of these subpoenas and these lawsuits. They're just mass producing them. And dudes keep lining up to be the next one. It's getting harder and harder for me to feel sympathy and compassion because I'm wondering at what point, when do people get smart?
Right.
That's what I'm wondering. But again, you know, y'all like playing in the garbage. Hey, I love that for you. You know, I believe that if you love if you love it enough, I'm jealous of the people that get to die doing what they love. The person that you know, they're thrill seeker, they love skydiving, and they die crashing the ground. They're evil Knievel, and they die falling off a tightrope and on a little mini bike or whatever.
Yeah.
Or hell, the people that die clapping some cheeks, they get a heart attack in the middle of it. We should all be so fortunate to go in our last moments doing what we love. So if y'all love playing in the trash that much, you're willing to die and lose everything behind it. God bless you. I love it for you.
And let's not forget, I converted the image. Let's not forget the woman that we're talking about. That's her. That's what she looks like.
And Omaha, a solid Omaha, Nebraska 6.
That's actually a good.
She is Mrs. Steal Your Girl at the Dayton County Fair, and only at the Dayton County Fair.
She looks like a meerkat with a wig. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you actually picked one of her best pictures.
Yeah. And it's still bad. She's a strong four at her very best.
You're a kind man. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. I was very generous.
Trailer Park Special. Yeah, man. This shit crazy out here, man. It's crazy in these internet streets. All right, Bobby, take us home.
Yes, sir. Well, once again, we appreciate y'all rocking with us for yet another week. You know what I'm going to tell you at this point. You see the text, please hit the like button.
Yeah.
Soon as you see it, hit the like button and make sure that you also subscribe.
All
that
right.
bell icon, click it. It's going to drop down. It's going to give you some options.
Yeah.
You want to select the one that says all notifications.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean when you check your phone on any given day, you're going to see this huge laundry list of updates from us. Not going to happen. What will happen is when it gets close to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and your boys are on the air, you will know, so you will have the invitation to pull up live and chill and rock with us as we get into some good game and really get into these issues of the day. I want to thank all our people that's been supporting us, all the ones that were in the chat with us live. We appreciate y'all so much. Our folks rocking with us in the Facebook group. Much love, much respect. Thanks for your participation. And our IG Live family, we appreciate y'all for kicking it with us. Make sure y'all don't be a stranger. Link up with us. Get up with us. We will see y'all next week, same time, same place. Be safe. Much love. He's Major Gage. He's Anthony Malcolm. I'm Bobby Drake. We are Manversations 2020.
Yeah. All right.
Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up. Manversations. Man up.
Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. A place where we inform. Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You gotta eat what you kill. You gotta go out there. You gotta hunt for your meals.
We all have that ability to connect with people, to be that motivational person in somebody's life.
You gotta let people know there's certain lines you don't cross, and that there's gonna be consequences if you do.
Man up.
If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, that person's emotions are not your responsibility.
Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
The devil, during slavery, destroyed the masculinity or manhood of the so-called Negro. No man. No man. Right now you got to be trained all over again to be a man.
When someone is obligated to do something, it is binding upon them to do it. And failure to do it causes reaction.
Man up.
Position make you rich. I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life forever.
If that people knew their glorious pop, if that people knew their glorious pop, if that people knew their glorious pop, then they would be more inclined to respect themselves.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job, is to spark somebody else watching us.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. A place where we inform. Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
You want to tell me about yourself? Go get your friends. I'll tell you who you are based on who your friends are.
Don't just live and die. That's an ugly existence. Make your life matter, make your life count. Live a life where people can actually mourn you for the things you left behind, not just because you were around and existed.
We need strong black nuclear family.
Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. Mother, father, son, daughter, all in the same house with a focus on the family unit as a whole.
We had Tulsa, Atlanta, New Jersey, Detroit. We had Rosewood. We had Black Wall Streets all over.
The Republicans aren't for us, but the Democrats aren't for us either. And we should have no alliance to any political party. We only have alliance to what is in our own best interest.
A place where we inform, build, and inspire. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. Manifestation. Man up. A place where we inform. Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire.
At the end of the day, as men in the community, we must stand together and be counted, because people look to us for guidance, leadership, and protection. And if we are not about that business, we are not on our job. Here we have grown-ass man conversations in the spirit of that purpose. Anthony Malcolm, Bobby Drake, Major Gage. We are. This is Manifestations 2020.
Manifestations. Man up. Manifestation. A place where we inform, build, and inspire. Manversations.